You're standing at a choice point right now, and it's not a regular choice. This is what Edgar Cayce called a cosmic choice point, a moment in time where one decision creates two completely different futures, two completely different timelines, two completely different versions of your life. And that choice point is happening right now between February 14th and February 20th, 2026. I'm Bracha, and before we dive deep into this, I want to be completely transparent with you. This channel and this voice are created with AI as a tribute to honor the real Bracha and to bring these profound teachings to more people. The message is what matters. The truth is what matters. And what I'm about to share with you is based on real prophecy, real astrology, and a cosmic event that Edgar Cayce said would force every soul on this planet to make the most important choice of their lifetime. I've been studying Cayce's readings on choice points for years, and he was incredibly specific about February 2026. He said this would be the week when the acceleration button gets pressed, when events start moving faster than we can process, when the old world collapses visibly and rapidly, and when the new world becomes accessible to those who make the right choice. So in this video, I'm breaking down what Edgar Cayce actually predicted about the February 2026 choice point and why he called it unmissable. What happens on February 17th that makes this the most critical week of your life, how to know which choice you're currently making unconsciously, and what you must do in the next 7 days to lock in the ascending timeline before the window closes. This is not theoretical, this is happening. The choice point is active right now, and what you choose in the next week will echo through the next decade of your life. Let's begin. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe because what unfolds after this choice point is going to reshape reality as we know it. Also, check the resources in the description if you need support navigating this choice. Now, let me tell you what a choice point actually is. According to Edgar Cayce, a choice point is not a regular decision. You make regular decisions every day. What to eat, where to go, what to say. Those are choices, but they're not choice points. A choice point is a moment when time itself splits, when the fabric of reality divides into two distinct timelines. And depending on which choice you make, you step into one timeline or the other. And once you step into a timeline, it becomes exponentially harder to switch. The two timelines move further and further apart until they're completely separate realities. Cayce said choice points are rare. Most people only experience a few in their entire lifetime. And when they happen, they're usually obvious. Marriage, divorce, a major move, a career change, having a child, moments where you know your life will never be the same. But Cayce said the February 2026 choice point is different. It's not about an external event, it's about an internal decision. It's not about what you do, it's about who you decide to be. And that makes it dangerous because most people won't even realize they're making the choice. Edgar Cayce said the February 2026 choice point would be the most critical moment of the 21st century, not because of what happens externally in the world, but because of what billions of people choose internally. And the collective result of all those individual choices will determine which version of Earth we experience for the next 36 years. Think about that. Your choice doesn't just affect you, it affects the collective. Because when millions of people choose the ascending timeline, they create momentum, they create a tipping point, they anchor the new frequency into the planet. And when millions of people choose the descending timeline, they keep the old frequency alive. They sustain the old systems, they perpetuate the old patterns. So your choice matters, not just for you, for everyone. Now let me tell you what's happening astrologically that's creating this choice point. Because the cosmos is literally forcing this choice. First, Saturn enters Aries on February 14th. Saturn is the planet of structure, responsibility, karma, consequences, reality. Aries is the sign of identity, courage, independence, new beginnings. Saturn in Aries asks one question: who are you going to be? Not who you were, not who you think you should be. Who are you actually going to be moving forward? And you have 2.5 years to answer that question. But the first week, the first choice you make when Saturn enters Aries sets the template for the entire 2.5 years. So February 14th is the beginning of the choice point window, the moment when the universe starts asking, who are you? Then on February 17th, we have the solar eclipse at 28 degrees Aquarius. This is the peak of the choice point, the moment when the choice becomes most visible, most urgent, most critical. Eclipses are portals. They're moments when massive shifts can happen instantly, when timelines become visible, when destinies can be rewritten. And this eclipse is at 28 degrees, which is the anaretic degree, the crisis degree, the degree that says this cannot wait, this is urgent, this is now or never. So the eclipse is not gentle, it's not gradual, it's a lightning bolt, a shock, a wake-up call. The universe is saying, choose now, don't wait, don't delay, don't think you have more time. Choose now. And the eclipse is square to Uranus, the planet of awakening, revolution, sudden change, breakthrough, truth, freedom. So the eclipse isn't just asking you to choose, it's forcing you to see the truth. It's revealing what you've been denying. It's exposing what you've been avoiding. It's showing you exactly where you're at and what needs to change. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once the truth is revealed, you have to make a choice. Do you keep living the lie? Or do you step into the truth? And then 3 days later, on February 20th, Saturn meets Neptune at 0 degrees Aries. This is the lock-in point. Whatever choice you made at the eclipse gets anchored into reality, gets solidified, gets locked into the next 36 years. Saturn is reality, Neptune is dreams, 0 Aries is the birth point. So Saturn meeting Neptune at 0 Aries means your choice becomes your new reality. Your choice becomes your new dream. Your choice becomes your new beginning. And it's permanent. Cayce said these 7 days from February 14th to February 20th are the most important 7 days of this century. Because whatever happens in these 7 days will determine the next 36 years, not just for you personally, for all of humanity collectively. So let me tell you what the two choices are. Edgar Cayce called them the ascending timeline and the descending timeline. The ascending timeline is the choice to grow, to expand, to evolve, to wake up, to step into your power, to take responsibility, to become the leader of your own life. It's the choice to say, I'm done playing small, I'm done hiding, I'm done waiting for someone to save me, I'm stepping up now. The ascending timeline requires courage. It requires letting go of everything comfortable. It requires walking into the unknown. It requires trusting yourself more than you trust anyone else. But Cayce said the ascending timeline leads to freedom, real freedom, not just external freedom, but internal freedom, freedom from fear, freedom from limitation, freedom from the old programming. And once you're on the ascending timeline, life becomes synchronistic, magical. Flow becomes your default state. You manifest easily. You connect deeply. You create powerfully. Everything just works. The descending timeline is the choice to stay safe, to stay comfortable, to stay in the known. It's the choice to say, I'll just stay where I am. It's not perfect, but at least it's familiar. At least I know what to expect. At least I don't have to risk anything. It's the choice to let fear make your decisions, to stay small because being big feels dangerous, to dim your light because shining bright might make others uncomfortable, to keep following because leading feels too vulnerable. The descending timeline feels safe at first. It feels like the smart choice, the practical choice, the responsible choice. But Cayce said the descending timeline leads to contraction, stagnation, slow death of the soul. Because when you choose safety over growth, when you choose comfort over truth, when you choose the known over the calling, you start to decay energetically. Your life force diminishes, your creativity dries up, your passion fades, and you wake up one day feeling empty, numb, disconnected, wondering where your life went. And here's the brutal truth that Edgar Cayce was very clear about. Once you make the choice, once the choice point window closes on February 20th, switching timelines becomes exponentially harder. The two timelines diverge rapidly. It's like two roads that start out side by side, but one goes up the mountain and one goes down into the valley. At the beginning, you can easily walk from one to the other, but after a few miles, there's a cliff between them. And after a few more miles, they're so far apart you can't even see the other road anymore. That's what happens after a choice point. The timelines separate. And if you choose the descending timeline in February 2026, Cayce said it might take years, maybe even a decade, before another choice point comes that allows you to shift back to the ascending timeline. That's why this week is so critical. That's why you can't miss this. That's why what you choose right now matters more than almost anything you've ever chosen. Now, let me tell you how to know which choice you're currently making. Because you might think you're choosing the ascending timeline, but your actions might say otherwise. Cayce gave very clear markers. If you're choosing the ascending timeline, you feel pulled toward growth even when it's uncomfortable. You're letting go of relationships that no longer serve you, even though it's painful. You're speaking your truth even when your voice shakes. You're taking risks that terrify you. You're following your intuition over logic. You're trusting yourself more than external authority. You're choosing love over fear in every decision. You're showing up as the leader of your own life. And most importantly, you're taking full responsibility. No blaming, no excusing, no victimhood, just ownership. This is my life. These are my choices. I am creating this. If you're doing those things right now, you're choosing the ascending timeline. Keep going. Don't stop. Don't let fear pull you back. If you're choosing the descending timeline, you feel stuck. You're making the same choices you've always made. You're staying in relationships that drain you because you're afraid of being alone. You're keeping jobs that suffocate you because you're afraid of financial insecurity. You're not speaking your truth because you're afraid of conflict. You're playing small because you're afraid of being seen. You're following the crowd because you're afraid of standing out. You're waiting for someone else to give you permission, to validate your choices, to tell you it's okay. And you're still blaming your parents, blaming your partner, blaming the system, blaming the economy, blaming anything and anyone except yourself. If you're doing those things, you're choosing the descending timeline, and you need to make a different choice. Now, before February 20th, before the window closes. Now, let me tell you what Edgar Cayce said will happen during the Choice Point week. He said, starting February 14th, the acceleration begins. Events in the world will start moving faster. Things that were hidden will be exposed. Corruption will come to light. Public figures will fall from grace. Systems built on false foundations will start collapsing visibly. And this will intensify every single day until February 20th. Cayce said by the time we reach the eclipse on February 17th, the old world will be collapsing so rapidly that people will be in shock. They won't be able to process how fast things are changing. And that shock, that disorientation, that chaos is designed to force the choice. Because when everything you thought was stable starts crumbling, you have to choose. Do you cling to what's collapsing, or do you let it go and step into what's emerging? He also said the people who understand what's happening, the people who've been preparing, the people who've been doing the inner work, they won't be shocked. They'll say right on time. They'll say, I knew this was coming. They'll say, this is exactly what needs to happen. And they'll stay centered. They'll stay calm. They'll stay grounded. They'll become the lighthouse in the storm, the anchor point between heaven and earth, the stabilizer for everyone around them. And that's leadership. Not the old kind of leadership that tells people what to do. The new kind of leadership that simply embodies peace, love, truth, and calm. And that frequency becomes contagious. That frequency spreads. That frequency anchors the new timeline into the planet. But Cayce also said the people who don't understand what's happening, the people who've been ignoring the signs, the people who've been living unconsciously, they will panic. They will become destabilized. Their nervous systems will become overloaded. They'll spend hours doom scrolling on social media, trying to make sense of the chaos, and they'll become energetically scattered. And when you're scattered, you give your power away. You become reactive instead of responsive. You become a victim instead of a creator. And that's the descending timeline. That's the choice to stay unconscious. That's the choice to let fear run your life. So here's what you need to do between now and February 20th to consciously choose the ascending timeline. First, get clear on what you actually value, not what you think you should value, not what society tells you to value. What do you actually value? What really matters to you? Is it relationships? Is it freedom? Is it creativity? Is it service? Is it peace? Write it down, get specific, because whatever you value becomes your compass, your North Star, your guide through the chaos. Second, make one change in your daily routine that signals to the universe you've made the choice. Stop doom scrolling on social media. Start meditating every morning. Join a community group. Start growing vegetables. Commit to helping others. Whatever it is, make it tangible, make it physical, make it real. Because that action tells the universe, I'm serious. This is real. I've made my choice. Third, bring yourself back to center multiple times a day, because the energy is going to be chaotic. The news is going to be intense. The world is going to feel like it's falling apart, and your nervous system will get jazzed up. So you need practices that ground you. Breath work, candle gazing, walking in nature, hugging a tree, yoga, Tai Chi, whatever works for you. Do it multiple times a day, because your state of being is your top priority. Your frequency is your superpower. And if you can stay in love, peace, joy, gratitude, and calm while the world is chaotic, you become the anchor. You become the lighthouse. You become the leader. Fourth, on February 17th, the day of the eclipse, set your intention clearly. I choose the ascending timeline. I choose growth. I choose consciousness. I choose love. I choose sovereignty. I am the leader of my own life. Say it out loud, write it down, feel it in your body, because the eclipse is the peak moment. That's when the universe is listening most intently. That's when your choice gets locked in. And fifth, after February 20th, after the conjunction, after the window closes, commit to your choice. Don't waver. Don't second guess. Don't let fear pull you back. Because the first few weeks after a choice point are the hardest. Your old patterns will try to reassert themselves. Your old relationships will try to pull you back. Your old identity will try to convince you that you made a mistake, but you didn't. You made the choice. You chose the ascending timeline. Now you have to walk it, one step at a time, one day at a time, one choice at a time. Edgar Cayce said, the people who consciously choose the ascending timeline in February 2026 will look back on this week as the turning point of their entire life. The moment everything changed, the moment they stopped being who they were and started becoming who they were always meant to be. And he said those people will be unrecognizable in 5 years, not just to others, to themselves, because the ascending timeline accelerates growth exponentially. What takes decades on the descending timeline takes years on the ascending timeline. What seems impossible on the descending timeline becomes inevitable on the ascending timeline. But you have to choose it consciously, intentionally, courageously, because the default choice is the descending timeline. The easy choice is the descending timeline. The comfortable choice is the descending timeline. The ascending timeline requires you to be brave, to be bold, to be willing to let everything fall apart so something new can emerge. And most people won't do it. Most people will choose safety. And Cayce said that's okay. There's no judgment. Everyone has their own timing. Everyone has their own path. But if you're watching this video right now, if you're feeling the pull, if you're sensing that something major is shifting, that's not an accident. That's your soul telling you this is your choice point. This is your moment. Don't miss it. From my heart to yours, I know you're scared. I know you don't know if you can do this. I know the ascending timeline feels risky, and unknown and terrifying. But staying on the descending timeline is more terrifying because you know where that leads. You've already lived that. You already know what happens when you play small, when you hide, when you wait for permission. It leads to regret. It leads to what if. It leads to I wish I had. And Edgar Cayce said the only thing more painful than choosing the ascending timeline is looking back years from now and realizing you were standing at the choice point and you chose fear instead of love. You chose safety instead of growth. You chose the known instead of the calling. Don't let that be you. Don't let this moment pass. Don't miss your choice point. You have 7 days to make the most important choice of your life. 7 days to decide who you're going to be for the next 36 years. 7 days to lock in your timeline. The window is open. The choice is active. The universe is asking, who are you? What do you choose? Which timeline are you stepping into? Answer now, choose now, commit now, because on February 21st, the window closes, the timelines separate, and wherever you are becomes your new reality. I want to hear from you. Which timeline are you choosing? What change are you making in the next 7 days? What action are you taking to prove you chose the ascending timeline? Drop it in the comments, say it out loud, make it real. And if this hit you in the soul, subscribe because we're walking the ascending timeline together. This is just the beginning. Your new life is just the beginning. Everything is just beginning. Let's go.